podium, as we are going to be now lighting the candles, and we know what is the meaning of the candle. So can we just, for a while, be calm? Comrade Steve.
Can we all rise as we observe a moment of silence for people we have lost? We're going to ask Honorable Minister and the Premier. Can we observe a moment of silence? Just a bit. We allow that they light the candles. We've lost many people living with HIV due to stigma and discrimination. Let's honor them. Let's appreciate also the people we lost due to COVID and many other diseases. Thank you.
Thank you very much. I don't know whether this process ibileli meaning holonana as we are standing, all of us. A Free State province in a task. I think Bo Comrade Mkalipi, they will assist me. It's a research already. As Free State, we need Mutwapil Aila Aipona affinity HIV in the province. Then I'll speak to Premier. There is something that we want to do as Free State. So we need that particular person. This moment, chincha everything about emotional high filter. So I will speak to the PLHIV sector leadership and the Baratuse to find out who is that person in the Free State dialogue, Ipumana Atlula Kebo Pelo Bitzola HIV in the province. So as a province, we get a premier request or something about that. So announcement take a that part. Eya ukena monyako le batalin disturba kapa le re disturba le a resitisa patiela ya monyako yela re a resitisa. I don't know how come if ever ntse le fuwa dijo le tlamele be le table manners. How ja how bui o tlo ba le leshano. So ke kopa that side ntse le amoela dijo, but please amoeleng ka matsoho o je ikebe ya utlwahala next, but o tla bo entse mosebetsi wa re o jele. Announcement ya bobedi le ntse le hopola hore ntho re batlang kapa purpose ya event ke eng. Theme ere equalize and integrate to end AIDS. Ya le monse hona di theme tse ngata hampe tse fitileng. So theme le theme ya selemo ina le meaning wa yona. A ke tlo kena yona haholo. So ke tla fa MEC ska ntse re share program le ne ke tsa fela announcement
Ke a leboha, Coach Chair. I'm now going to call to the podium Councillor Irene Mehlomakulu on behalf of SALGA. Like I said, that HIV/AIDS is not just the problem of Department of Health, but it is a societal problem that we must all work together to fight it. Councillor Irene Mehlomakulu.
Halala, Frestata halala. Halala, Memandombela halala. Halala, Ndate Phaahla halala. Motsamaisi wa mosebetsi ke sa senya nako ke kopa fela hore ke qale ka hore ke observe protocol ke dumedise baetapele bohle ke sa tlo baqolla ho save nako. Allow me also to stand here on this very important occasion when we commemorate one of the longest pandemics on our modern times. We stand here as we remind ourselves and our people that the fight against HIV and AIDS is far from over. Today, the South African Local Government Association joins the nation and the rest of the world in commemorating the 34th World AIDS Day under the theme, Equalize and Integrate to End AIDS. We are conscious to the fact that the theme is aligned with the global one, which is Equalize. Equalize is a call to the global community to act to address the inequalities which drive the AIDS pandemic using practical, proven, effective measures, including the following: lifting up the availability, quality, and suitability of services for HIV treatment, testing, and prevention so that everyone is well served. Reforming laws, policies, and practices to tackle the stigma and exclusion faced by people living with HIV and by key and marginalized populations so that everyone is shown respect and is welcomed. Ensuring that sharing of technology to enable equal access to the best HIV science according to the UN AIDS Global AIDS Update 2022. An estimated 38.4 million people were living with HIV across the globe in 2021. South Africa has the biggest HIV epidemic in the world with approximately 7.8 million people living with HIV and accounts for a third of all new HIV infections in Southern Africa. Despite South Africa having the world's largest antiretroviral therapy program with 5.2 million on HIV treatment, HIV prevalence among the general population in South Africa remains high at 13.5%. This calls for integration of efforts and equalization of services towards the ultimate objective of ending AIDS by 2030. Drawing from the COVID-19 response experience, like with COVID-19, municipalities are better positioned to coordinate responses at local level, and therefore SALGA calls for integration of plans and resource allocation at local level to address inequalities that continue to create barriers against access to prevention, treatment, and care. To realize integration, SALGA commits to support and advise municipalities in playing a meaningful role in the response against HIV, TB, and STIs, which is not only a threat to local government's object of promoting healthy and safe environment, but also it threatens the social economic development. As a result, SALGA is developing a position paper on local government response to HIV, TB, and STIs to ensure common approach and understanding across all municipalities. Discussions are also underway to consider the funding requirements of municipalities for AIDS response. Furthermore, SALGA will work with SANAC, provincial AIDS councils, and municipalities to ensure functional AIDS councils from the district to ward level to create platform for multi-sectoral coordination and response. To support the equalization efforts, local government employees and the communities are called upon to highlight the inequalities they face and to press for the actions needed to address them. Through equalization and integration, the AIDS pandemic can be defeated. In closing, the local government is committed to advance the implementation and attainment of national, regional, and global strategies aimed at ending the HIV as a public health threat by 2030. Let us remind ourselves that our work is far from complete. Where there is poverty and sickness, including AIDS, where human beings are being oppressed, there is more work to be done. Close quote by Nelson Mandela. I thank you.
Ha re lebohe molaetsa o monate wa kgothatso ho tswa ho Councillor Irene Mehlomakulu, the Mayor of Harib District. And without wasting any time, I'm going to call the leader of the workers, my leader, my president. My president, Mayor Zingiswa Losi, come and talk to us. You know the workers are the ones that are in the forefront of fighting all the pandemics. Talk to us, President.
Amandla, thank you very much, Program Director. Allow me to first pay respect to the ancestors of the land and its people. Allow me to acknowledge the Minister of Health, Honorable Joe Phaahla, the CEO of SANAC, Dr. Kulu, Minister and Deputy Ministers, the Premier of Free State, Umamuntombela, the MECs and MPLs, SANAC Co-Chair, Comrade Steve Litzike, the Chairperson of Free State House of Traditional Leaders and Khoisan, Morena Mupeli, the US Ambassador to South Africa, the Development Partner Civil Society Organization, the people living with HIV and AIDS and TB, Dicama Kushen, Ditogozise, Kubandwana Betongo, Togozani, Bogogo Nomkulu. On behalf of the trade union movements, COSATU, FEDUSA, and NACTU, we want to appreciate the time that is given to us to come and be part of this gathering as we commemorate World AIDS Day under the theme, Equalize and Integrate to End AIDS. Chairperson, the majority of people living or affected with HIV and AIDS and TB are of the working age. Therefore, understanding the consequences of HIV and AIDS on the labor force, on productivity, and on economic growth is essential. And while significant strides have been made in the AIDS response to the world of work, major gaps remain which need to be addressed urgently. It is therefore for this reason, Minister, that the Labour Federation leaders have recommitted to work as labor movement in the fight against HIV and AIDS and TB in the world of work. We have programs that are targeted to reach workers in all areas of work, in the world of work, in workplaces, in institutions, domestic workers, farm workers, and communities, including informal sectors. We want to also give gratitude to the ILO, the Southern Africa office led by Director Johnny Musambayana, with his team for the continuous tireless support that they have given to the Labour Federation, and sticking to the commitment they have made when they answered the clarion call that was made for development partners to adopt a sector to fight against HIV and AIDS. Minister, trade unions have answered this clarion call. South African Textile Workers Union, which is SACTU, has a project called SACTU AIDS Project Home-Based Care Services for Workers, which is a health program, Minister, which has been supported by Belgium society trade unions with the aim to combat HIV and AIDS within the garment industry. We have 9 provincial clinics. Some are located in the workplaces so that workers who are infected do not have to lose time at work. They are able to access treatment within the working hours. Yesterday, as we were gathering as civil society forum, as the labor sector, we had a mobile clinic which is now outside, coming from South African Democratic Teachers Union to work with all of us in fighting this pandemic. And these are just few examples. But we want to say, Minister, that trade union is capable of easing the burden, more especially on HIV, AIDS, and TB, and non-communicable diseases. Therefore, Minister, you don't have to look away, give support and resources. As trade unions, we are waging a fight against discrimination in the workplace, and the heart of it is a zero tolerance for any form of discrimination. And this is captured in our labor laws and in the Constitution. As you had said earlier on, Minister, in the briefing session, that you are busy in Parliament with the NHI. We want the implementation of the NHI because we understand that it reflects the kind of society with which we want to live in. A society that is based on justice, a society that is based on fairness, a society that is based on social solidarity. And the implementation of NHI is consistent with the global vision that healthcare should be seen on a social investment and should not be subjected to market forces where it is treated as a normal commodity of trade. As trade unions, we want to wish you a successful festivities as we commemorate this important day. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Kosatu President. We are happy that Kosatu committed in a response to end HIV in this country. Give a problem in how to it's a remedy program director at Taro, Kaba to 50. Ban Baduzimule. So neke kupa ore rehlompe this formal program. Litoko kagamamona the artist editing, table thing, little jaifa litoko listen to. But for now, please give us chance. Oluna haliko kagana kwaluna, kiske katoli distepa, mente kagali tole. So Hanabel Kopa Life ya Rona Nako, Rezem Situarona, this is formal program. So ge kopa little or Kabel Hopolania Holu. So say Tanya and fella 1 hour fell little fana di hag. So ge kopa the Penyan. Now Kito Biza a poet from a youth sector. She is a Free State provincial youth sector leader within PCA. O tlo retsa poet today. Dintho di a change ke nana tla bona from today gore I ona ntho e ka nya change. Chairperson o change dintho. Mesisi. Ke tla bitsa re abetswe Matobako. A tle ka pele a tlo re fa poem ke chairperson ya province ya youth ya Free State. E ke le mofendi tlatsi mo. Ha ke tsebo tlo hlaka kae because ha ke ra tseba di-artists di na le element ya teng. Jwale ke kopa re abetswe ke tla utlwa ka voice ha ebe wa nkutlwa kapa ke tla kopa o tle ka pele ka mona o tlo re etsetsa poem eo. Ibe o teng ka mo le mmone o kae jwale re abetswe Matobako ke kopa o tle ha ke na nako e enough. Kapa re abetswe ha tsebe e re ke mo fete he o banjwale nako ya rona ya tsamaya o tla itlhaisa sa le teng ke kopa o tswelela o speaker se seng. May I request a statement of support from the development partner, Eling Ambassador Ruben II, Lena Littard, key US Ambassador to the Republic of South Africa. Could you please come, sir? Yes, thank you. Welcome him with a round of applause, please. Adinyenyana diatla Free State. Mona ribua ka a development partner. So when you what's a development partner gi? Skela bapalanga chelet.
Long. Good morning. Minister Phaahla, Premier Ntombela, and in the interests of time, all other protocols very respectfully observed. It's my great honor to be here with you this morning, in particular, to be here with the activists, those living with HIV, and I'm very grateful to have shared this very special moment with all of you to remember those that we've lost in this too long pandemic. Since 2003, the US government, through the President's Emergency Plan for AIDS Relief, or PEPFAR, has partnered with the government of South Africa to support HIV prevention, care, and treatment programs. And over the course of 2 decades, in collaboration with the government of South Africa and with the support of $8.9 billion through PEPFAR, we've seen extraordinary progress in South Africa's HIV response. Since 2010, new HIV infections have declined in the country by a remarkable 45%, representing one of the steepest reductions in HIV incidence in Eastern and Southern Africa. Now, more than 90% of South Africans know their HIV status. And through our partnership with the National Department of Health, more than 5 million South Africans have initiated treatment on life-saving antiretroviral medications. We can now confidently say that unlike the darkest days at the beginning of the pandemic, when orphans were raising babies, we can now confidently say that South Africans living with HIV can indeed lead long and healthy lives. PEPFAR collaborates with over 100 organizations, including several that are providing services that are here with us today, and supports over 2,600 facilities and 27 supported districts across South Africa. As we focus on equalizing and integrating our approach to the HIV/AIDS pandemic, we must also emphasize the importance of starting and staying on treatment to cut off the possibility of transmission. Anyone living with HIV who takes daily medications and achieves viral suppression cannot spread HIV to other people. It's impossible. Can't be done. No chance, zero. That person will live a longer, healthier life and enable other people to live longer, healthier lives. In the days that follow, we must boldly confront the issues that are holding us back from truly living up to our theme of equalize and integrate. I had the privilege of attending the Presidential Gender-Based Violence Forum last month, and I heard firsthand from activists about the challenges that stigma, discrimination, and gender-based violence have on the chance of achieving epidemic control. More importantly, I heard their stories about the pain and suffering that such violence causes. Approximately 20 to 25% of new HIV infections in young South African women come from gender-based violence. In addition, the early initiation of sexual activity and age-disproportionate relationships are far too common for adolescent girls and women. I am personally, as the U.S. Ambassador to the Republic of South Africa, personally committed to efforts that reduce stigma and discrimination that are toxic to our communities across South Africa and across the United States as well. Through our U.S. Dreams program, we have reached over 1 million adolescent girls and young women, enabling them to pursue a healthier future for themselves. I think I hear some of them here in the audience today. Dreams has also realized a more prosperous future for South African young women, linking 3,800 beneficiaries to new job opportunities. And yet, here on this first day of December 2022, South African women and children are still more likely to be HIV positive than are South African men. We cannot let that same story to be told 20 years from now. We must equalize power between women and men. And we must end gender-based violence and femicide. We must prioritize the needs of our adolescent girls and young women. And we must continue to develop HIV prevention strategies that will strengthen the integration of quality health and social services and achieve a more equal and just society. In closing, dear friends, Let us aim to live in a tomorrow in which HIV is controlled and where women and children contribute even more to a prosperous and thriving South Africa. And on behalf of the government and the people of the United States of America, I express my deep gratitude to our colleagues in the government of South Africa, in civil society, and in activists for their partnership and their commitment to end the HIV epidemic in South Africa and to help those living with HIV to live their best lives. Thank you very much. May God bless you all.
Thanks a lot, His Excellency Ambassador of the US to the Republic of South Africa. Thank you so much for the encouraging words. We must equalize and integrate to end the HIV/AIDS. It is possible. We can end HIV and AIDS. We must fight not to have new infections. At the moment, South Africa is leading in the number of infections. Let us turn back the tide. I'm going now to call Dr. Tsegofatso Gopane, the SANAC Private Sector Forum Deputy Chairperson, to come to the podium.
Co-Chair of SANAC, Ms. Steve Litzike, the Premier of the Free State and Chairperson of the Provincial AIDS Council, Men Dombela, the Minister of Health, Dr. Phaahla. In the interest of time, please allow me to say all protocol observes with great respect. Dumelang. On behalf of the PSF, we'd like to take the opportunity to thank you to participate in the World AIDS Day commemoration. December 1st is observed as World AIDS Day in recognition of the global campaign to end the disease and raise awareness. It provides us an opportunity for people worldwide to unite and fight against HIV, show support to the people living with HIV, and commemorate those who have died. Just over 4 decades ago, when we knew only devastation HIV inflicted, those living with it had to fight to be treated with dignity and compassion. And since the first cases of HIV and AIDS were reported, millions of vibrant men and women have lost their lives. Today, promising public health and scientific advances have transformed what it means to live with HIV. More effective prevention and treatment and care saves millions of lives. For many, a disease that was once a death sentence now offers a good chance for a healthy and productive life. The global fight against HIV and AIDS has made extraordinary progress, and there is conviction that the world and the region and our country can achieve an AIDS-free generation by 2030. This year's slogan, Equalize, is a call to action. It is a prompt for all of us to work for proven practical actions needed to address inequalities and help end HIV and AIDS as we count down to 2030, and ensuring that we create an equitable health system that guarantees universal access to quality health care in our country. The goal of an AIDS-free generation may be ambitious, but it is possible. It is a goal that is within our reach, particularly when sectors such as business come to the fore and say, we are in this together. An estimated 14.9 million people in our country's formal employment sector, 83% of which work for the private sector. Thus, the role of business and the private sector cannot be overstated on matters of health policy, health systems improvement, and closing the funding gap and alleviating the burden of disease. It also provides a great opportunity to run many workplace programs on health. Today, as we commemorate the World AIDS Day, we are acutely aware that the need for a whole society approach to fight HIV and AIDS epidemic has never been more critical as we emerge from the devastation of the COVID-19 pandemic. We find ourselves faced with strained health systems and an exhausted health force. All of us who are healthcare workers, I remain a healthcare worker at heart. Despite this, there's a need to redouble our efforts in the battle against HIV and AIDS. The Stats SA mid-year population estimates report estimated that there are approximately 8.5 million adults and children living with HIV and AIDS in South Africa. Moreover, the HIV prevalence amongst adults aged between 15 and 49 is 19.6%. This is devastating not only with respect to the sheer numbers of young people affected, but it also has the impact on the economy, as this is the age band that represents a substantial proportion of our working population. Given the above, it is vital that the private sector plays its part against the fight for HIV and AIDS. In this regard, the SANAC Private Sector Forum, PSF, is emerging as a convening and galvanizing force. It is appropriate at this juncture to briefly reflect on the history of the PSF, which is intricately linked to its secretariat, the South African Business Coalition on Health and AIDS, commonly known as SABCOA. SABCOA was established 21 years ago in 2001 by the business sector to mobilize and empower businesses in South Africa to take effective action on HIV and AIDS in the workplace and beyond. The response was later broadened to include TB, STIs, and gender-based violence, and overall health and well-being. One of the challenges faced by SABCOA was to ensure full participation of private sector in the SANAC structures and activities. To address this challenge, the SANAC private sector engagement strategy was developed. Currently, the PSF is establishing its governance model and will soon be in a strengthened position to fulfill its vision of being a voice of the South African private sector united in pursuit of equality and AIDS and TB-free society by 2030. Despite its early phase of development, the PSF has already made significant inroads. A great example was the PSF using its convening power to raise $650,000 from the private sector for the South Africa's 7th pledge to the replenishment of the Global Fund. Of this that was pledged, $500,000 was from Anglo American and $150,000 was from Absa Bank. The PSF is also actively involved in the drafting process underway of the 2023-2028 National Strategic Plan on HIV, TB, and STI, and will closely align its activities to the final version of this crucial document. Shifting our focus on broader private sector activities, these are just but a few examples. SABCOA, Afrocentric and De Beers Partnership Project, due to run from December to May 2023, will aim to provide comprehensive health screening of 25,000 individuals in Limpopo and train 100 micro-enterprises. In the meantime, a SABCOA, Afrocentric, and International Labour Organization partnership project that ran from October to November this year reached a target of 1,000 individuals with comprehensive screening in Gauteng in the DRD gold mine on the East Rand and surrounding communities of Cosmo City. These are amongst the many initiatives taking place across the private sector, which as part of our efforts, data aggregation and standardization will take place to ensure effective reporting. We know that HIV, AIDS, and TB represent twin epidemics, and that the fight against the latter, therefore, is also pertinent in today's reflection. With respect to this, LTE, a partner to the PSF, has taken a challenge of helping to accelerate TB screening. In addition, a 3-month pledge of a containerized chest X-ray unit to support TB screening in the Northern Cape has been committed. Mining companies in the Free State, such as Sibanye Stillwater, are also contributing to the World AIDS Day activities in the form of providing health screening facilities at today's event. In conclusion, the PSF is taking up its role as a stalwart partner and fight against HIV/AIDS. The PSF and business will continue to work with government, civil society, and communities as we intensify our collective efforts of turning these targets into reality in our country. I thank you.
Thanks, Dr. Tsogofatso. Ntho e ke tlo e etsa batho ba catering. Ke bone ka le tlo stopa ntho ena ya ho supply dijo. This is a formal program. Batho ba ne ba batla ne ba je ha re qeta mona. This is a formal program. Re batla attention ya batho so that ba kgone ho fumana molaetsa ka botlalo because le etsa lerata ke re ha le je le etsa lerata. So ntho ene ke ikopa he hore re utlwaneng ke tse se ke la disturb mosebetsing wa ka etsang wa lona wa ho ja mara le thotse ha ke no le disturb la uka le ya kwata ke le disturb gore se ke la ja mosebetsing wa lona so lena wa ka se ke la o disturb he re kgone ho utlwana re sebetse mmoho ba ntse ba fitla ba tlo dula fatshe etsa jwalo ka o thola o thole dijo tsa o itulele fatshe o itjelle se ke ra disturbanang re kgone ho tshwara nako ke a leboha. Now I'm going to call South African National AIDS Council co-chair. She's going to give us a statement of support from civil society forum of this country. I'm calling upon my chairperson, the co-chair of SANAC, and the chairperson of SANAC Civil Society Forum, Ms. Steve Litsike, to give us a statement of support from civil society. Before that, kisa kopa hape, ki kopa lifane fela ka ntho e nyenyana fela hore le ke le mamele fela motsotswana fela sentse re tlo qeta. Kopa le thole dijo mara le jentse le thotse hore ba etapele ba kgone ho bua. Kapa ke thule hanyane henke utlwe le tla qeta neng. Comrade Steve, ke fa wena marapo modulasetulo wa ka.
Amandla, Matla, all the power, all the power. Program directors, Let me appreciate the co-chairperson of Free State PCA, Comrade Simpiwe, the MEC of Health, who's also our program director here. Appreciate the proceeding of this program. In his absentia, our chairperson, Deputy President Mr. Mabuza, Minister of Health, Dr. Phaahla, Premier of Free State Province, Mentombela, ministers, deputy ministers in attendance, Chairperson of Free State, House of Traditional and Khoisan Leaders, Morena Mopedi, and all the traditional leaders who are here with us today. The Deputy Executive Mayor of Mangaung Municipality, ke maine Mapaseka, ke mainaka, Kalina. For those who don't understand our native language, both the Deputy Executive Mayor and myself share a name, Mapaseka. MECs of Health, MECs who are all here today, the co-deputy chairpersons of Civil Society Forum, Comrades Solin Duku and Comrades Bongile Chabalala, the National SANAC Civil Society leaders who are here, the Provincial Council on AIDS who are here, the Deputy Chairperson of the Private Sector Forum, represented by Dr. Khopane, the President of COSATU, Comrade Losi, who's standing representing organized labor, meaning all federations that we have in SANAC, the US Ambassador to South Africa who just spoke earlier, His Excellency Bigeti, the UN family, United Nations family, that is coordinating us at a global level, that is led here by UNAIDS Country Director Meiva Kiwango, our chairperson of SANAC Trust, Mr. Bonolo Ramukeli, who's here with us, with the trustees that are here. Thank you so much for gracing us. The CEO of SANAC, Dr. Kulu. Let me send greetings to the community members of Mangaung, Dumelang. Comrades, colleagues, a special mention to the people living with the HIV sector. Of course, earlier we heard from Comrade Sello Mokalipi. World AIDS Day is commemorated every year to show support for people living with HIV and to pay tribute and remember to those who died before us. This year's theme is Equalize and Integrate to End AIDS. It is time for us to reflect. We've taken enough stock through our National Strategic Plan process. We have reviewed our progress made so far in combating HIV, TB, and STIs. And of course, we celebrate the successes and we remember what remains to be done. At the end of 2022, almost 3 years after COVID-19, significant challenges and gaps still remains in our country. We are a country that has promised to end AIDS by 2030, and we've joined the world in doing so. The world is off track. South Africa remains at risk, at serious risk of falling in the trap, as many programs are at stake. Let us remind ourselves, to end AIDS, we must end the inequalities that are blocking progress. The progress where we want to see 0 new infections and 0 death. Today, we are commemorating World AIDS Day here in Mangaung with almost 1 million people, yet of those, 36% live below the national poverty line, and 25% are people who are not employed. In this district, we still need to catch up on health services, the health services that must be provided to the people. Mangaung has displayed 94, 73, 94 in terms of performance against the 95, 95, 95 targets. Over the last couple of weeks, Minister and Premier, SANAC civil society engaged with communities in the Free State, with people living with HIV, having been in the province from the 7th of November. Listening to communities, providing the much needed health services, and also visiting other areas. Yesterday, the people living with HIV sector and the faith sector presented their findings and challenges and possible solutions to the MEC of Health as part of the community-led monitoring program. We need to learn from our brothers and sisters who were and continue to be challenged. We need to learn from people living with HIV at service point and also in communities. We have witnessed the bold leadership and advocacy, their passion, resourcefulness, and relevance in communities. I would like us to give a round of applause for the sterling contribution by people living with the HIV sector. I also want us to celebrate our other civil society sectors that did stellar policy in action activation as part of the build-up activities. For the first time, we worked with the Department of Correctional Services here in Free State. Hala, hala, Correctional Services, hala, hala. Minister and Premier, civil society led by faith sector, PLHIV research sector, sports, arts and culture, interacted with offenders of Bizarre Makate and Grootvlei correctional centers to hear challenges as well as to hear from them what needs to be done to address those challenges. The men and women at these correctional facilities are part of society, and we need to ensure that we include them in our intervention. Nobody, even in the correctional facilities, must be left behind in our HIV response. Yesterday, Mangaung, some of you will know, Mangaung was buzzing with activations. Sectors were implementing. Women's sector, Malibongwe. Labor sector, Qina Msebenzi. Youth sector, Mayanga Yanga. People with disability, we thank you and we see you, and we will never stop paying attention to your needs and to the services you require. Traditional health sectors, Thokozani. We saw all sectors participating, leading policy in action. And they did it diligently with departments. Various departments were there, ministers, deputy ministers, MECs that were participating. This Minister of Health and Premier provides us with the rich history and the rich capacity that civil society holds as a center of HIV, TB, and STI response. This history will not and can never be erased. We must appreciate the phenomenal work of all 18 sectors based on the needs of key and vulnerable population when we respond to those. They provided, they inspired, and they embraced the most vulnerable. Minister of Health, we have not yet reached equalization. Stigma and discrimination, or its fears, is still a reality for many of us. Both the successes and failures have taught us that we cannot prepare for a defeat, the pandemic, unless we tear down the inequalities. Minister of Health, we need to promote people-centered, right-based approaches and work together in communities. As South Africa, we have a long way to go. Hate speech, violence against women, children, LGBTI people, and murders that are targeting key and vulnerable are continuing cause of concern. Key and vulnerable population are often in very difficult situations. This is not acceptable. Ga re dumele gore we move around with stigma and discrimination. End stigma, end. Down with stigma, down. Today, Minister, 30 years ago, the AIDS Consortium developed a charter, and I'm going to request Comrade Mluleki Zazini, Anele Yawa, as Comrade Sibongile Chabalala to come present the Human Rights Charter to the Minister. This was supported by SANAC as part of the development of the new updated South African Human Rights Charter for key and vulnerable populations. We know we have come a long way. We need to own up to the development of the process and pay attention. Minister, please receive the charter. Come through. Asinalo valo, pulento siye, valo lo.
Kulento esiyenzayo, kulento esiyenzayo, kulento esiyenzayo.
Amandla. Thank you, Amandla. So, on this World AIDS Day, we are calling out, and we are calling out in one voice. Minister of Health, equalize. The equalize slogan is a call to action, a call proven for practical actions to help end AIDS by 2030. We want services that are available, affordable, and accessible to people anywhere they are. Whether re ko magaeng, re mo ditoropong, or townships, it does not matter. We must equalize same services everywhere. This also means, Minister of Health, Our government must provide financial resources. Domestic resources must be at the center of the HIV, TB, and STI response. We appreciate international aids provided. But I want to say this. International aids, Minister, must not divide us as South Africans. We allow and we continue to allow people from outside to divide us. This must end. We appreciate it. We want to make use of it because we are in the business of saving lives. But money must never be abused against people at community levels. Minister, we need better laws. We must decolonize the legal environment. No person in our country should be criminalized because of consensual sex work. We have wonderful news. We have wonderful news, and I want to commend the government of South Africa. Yesterday, Cabinet approved decriminalization of sex work. This is wonderful news. We want to thank Cabinet for this moment when you pass this bill, and we hope in Parliament and our President will do justice to this act. We commend you, sex workers. Continue to champion the work. Now, Cabinet have a big task, and that big task, we want you now to pass the hate crimes bill. We will not allow women like Belinda, Makoa, Areroge as batho ba batsho. Bare corona, bare we are, black people must die, must be killed. We will not accept this in South Africa where we are discriminated in our own country. It ended in apartheid, it will never be repeated now. Pass hate crimes and hate speech bill now. It's important not on the basis of our color of the skin. It's important also for LGBTI people who continue to be murdered while we keep quiet. This must end. Minister of Health, I hope after this visit to Free State, we begin a period for social response in communities across the country. We advance the collective mission to ensure that no one is left behind. Our effort to protect our communities are never finished. We need to strive to make equality a success. We remain focused. We remain to pay attention in the fair and robust manner. Premier, we must end unemployment in the Free State. Premier, Free State needs a healthy economy. For our population to be healthy, the economy can be healthy. It needs a healthy population, then our economy will be healthy. And we need to do so. Let's not leave people behind. Let's continue meaningfully in society to engage people. Let's be counted in our efforts. Our communities need our collective action now more than ever. We will equalize. Ho ya rona, ho ya rona, ho ya rona. Lisang magwala acheche le morao, oya rona. Lisang magwala acheche, oya rona, oya rona, oya rona. Oh, Yarona. Oh, Yarona. Oh, Yarona. Lisang makwala acheche. Oh, Yarona. Lisang makwala acheche. Pambili, siaya, Pambili, siaya, no ma besi kubula, besi bopa, besi shaya, amandla, Free State, amandla.
Thank you very much, Chairperson. Wow, Chairperson, Ubuile, the co-chair of SANAC, Ubuile. Ki kopa jwale re fefela sentse re tlo qeta. Ke nana nna ke ema for the last time. And then I will hand over MEC at the program. Ke eme hangata ho mo feta. Jwale sallang na le yena jwale. Ne ke kopa fela re be le mamello e nyenyana fela sentse re qeta setjhaba sa bo rona. Ke kopa ke re enjoy a message of support from Chairperson wa SANAC wa Civil Society Forum, also the co-chair of SANAC. Ke kopa ngala atle atlo ntheola staging ke qetile ke a leboha tshebisano mmoho ya lona nako ntse ke tsamaisa program mo ke le foseditseng teng le tle le ntshwarele. And then ke tlo bitsa program ya ka Chairperson. Premier ara co-chair o qeta jwang batho ba so qeti ha ke so qeti he ke tlo khutla because jwale Chairperson wa PCA o re le khale ke kopa Thabiso Ngala re celebrate a statement e bonisi celebrate wa mona ke Chairperson as line ya di sex work ke sex work it's work. Harry try pata tabe now because we declined. They not declined. So harto khona o ipata tabe betlie. Li ba ipatang o tla tutso ipatile jwalo. Sex work, it's work. Ngala. Ngala. Right. Thank you.
Ako sape matsoho. Shaizanza. Uyababisa bonkuno. Baba kelinga nawe. Atimfuli yesa. Onkenano. Uyababisa bonkuno. Baba kelinga nawe. Atimfuli yesa. Onkenano. Akuku. Uyababisa bonkuno. Baba kelinga nawe. Atimfuli yesa. Onkenano. Akuku blam. Uyababisa bonkuno. Baba kelinga nawe. Atimfuli yesa. Onkenano. No. Agoshayizandla. Uyababisa okuno. Baba kelinga nawe watimfunie. Ay, onkenano. Ay. Ay. Jesus. Thank you.
Humonati impa mosebetsi wa rona ha o so fele. Ho sana le dibui tsa bohlokwa. Ke kopa ona jwale tje re bitse nakong ya jwale re bitse itshware ma comrade itshwareng re tla bina re kopa le mamele melaetsa e setseng ya bohlokwa ka kopo re kopa nakong ya jwale re tla re bitsetsa podium Miss Eva Kuango from the UNAIDS country director would be speaking to us now.
It's very hard to come after all that singing, but I'll try my best. Honorable Minister of Health, Dr. Joe Phaahla, Civil Society Forum Chairperson and Co-Chair of SANAC, Comrade Steve Letsike, Honorable Premier of the Free State, Mentombela, or Honorable Deputy Ministers present, Mangaun Metropolitan Municipality Deputy Mayor, Councillor Mayor Motibi Nkoane, Free State MEC for Health, Matthew, all MECs and councillors present, Free State House of Traditional and Khoisan Leaders Chairperson, Hosi Mopeli, SANAC Private Sector Forum Deputy Chairperson, Me Dr. Kopane, President of COSATU, Comrade Lossi, South African National AIDS CEO, Me Dr. Tembi, Free State Civil Society leader and co-chair of the Provincial Council on AIDS, Ntate Mokoena, and all civil society leaders here today. Free State representative of people living with HIV sector, Comrade Selo, thank you for your passion and for your call for 360 World AIDS Days. The representative of UNICEF, my sister, Me Muhigana Christina, representatives of development partners, the media, young people, ladies and gentlemen, Dumelang Free State. Thank you for hosting this year's World AIDS Day. World AIDS Day is a moment for us to honor those who have lost their lives to AIDS, take stock of the AIDS response, and recommit to ending AIDS by 2030 as part of the Sustainable Development Goals. The United Nations family in South Africa stands in solidarity with South Africa today. The rationale for this year's theme, equalize and integrate, is evidence that inequality in society has and continues to fuel the HIV epidemic. The same is true for the TB epidemic, long considered a disease of poverty. The theme is particularly pertinent to South Africa with its legacy of apartheid and its continuing high levels of inequality by race, by class, by gender, and by geography. This week, we launched a powerful new report called Dangerous Inequalities. In it, we call the world's attention to the painful reality. We are not on track to end AIDS by 2030. And the reason is inequality. But there is good news. By equalizing and integrating, we can end AIDS. Firstly, we must equalize for women and girls to reduce their HIV risk. In South Africa, the number of new infections every year, 200,000. With adolescent girls and young women aged 15 to 24 years, 4 times more likely to be infected with HIV. The driving factor is inequality. Enabling girls to stay in school until they complete secondary education reduces their vulnerability to HIV by 50%. When we include comprehensive sexuality education, their risk is reduced even further. Gender inequalities and harmful gender norms are holding back the end of the AIDS pandemic. Gender-based violence is increasing women's risk of HIV infection and constraining their access to life-saving services. Women who are subjected to intimate partner violence face up to 50% higher chance of acquiring HIV. We need to reduce sexual and gender-based violence from the ground up. We need to ensure that children are socialized better to understand their gendered and non-gendered roles. We need to increase social protection, expand social welfare to ensure we deal more decisively with poverty and hunger. Secondly, we must equalize for marginalized populations. Discrimination against marginalized communities is hurting the HIV response. We will not end AIDS unless we end it for everyone. The evidence is clear. When you decriminalize, people will come forward for services. Decriminalization of sex work and people who use drugs saves lives. In South Africa, the HIV incidence among men who have sex with men has declined by 58% between 2010 and 2021 because you have decriminalized. But we do not only need to decriminalize, we also need to fight stigma. Stigma is the sentence passed by society on people who are for who they are, and stigma kills. We need to end stigma for people living with HIV and for marginalized communities. We need every leader to step up. Political leaders, faith leaders, traditional leaders, cultural leaders, young leaders, business leaders, rise, equalize. Thirdly, an inequality that breaks my heart is that against children living with HIV. With the science that we have today, no baby should be born with HIV. And no child who has HIV should be without treatment. In South Africa, children account for only 3% of people living with HIV, but 4.5% of AIDS deaths. This is intolerable. It is unacceptable. We will not allow this shameful and avoidable injustice to continue. That is why we are glad that South Africa has joined the Global Alliance to End AIDS in Children, to close the treatment gap for children who cannot speak. We need to speak for them. Lastly and crucially, to end AIDS, we must tackle the inequalities in resourcing. The COVID crisis and global conflicts have increased inequality worldwide. Low and middle income countries like South Africa are continuing to do debt repayments 4 times more than they spend on health. In the midst of the crisis of debt, austerity, and inequality, we must not see cuts in development assistance. The time is now. It is not time to step away. We must fully fund the Global Fund and reauthorize PEPFAR. The World AIDS Day lets us recommit and reinvigorate South Africa's HIV and TB response. We need to strengthen community-led, youth and men health-friendly services. We need to provide services for mental health, social protection. On this World AIDS Day, the UN in South Africa joins with the National AIDS Council and communities around South Africa to equalize access to rights, equalize access to services, equalize access to resources, and equalize access to the best science. I thank you.
Thank you very much. Thank you very much, Director. Ke kopa le thule hanyane fela. Just be quiet hanyane o chincha mood what is formal program. Kopa le thule hanyane ki chinche mood what is program. Le thule tu hanyane fela. Le na kulo thula tu just 1 minute.
Gabe Sekama. Yeah. When God still believe. Oh, let's see. Say, come on, well, God see believe, hey, I control. Let's see be coming, yeah. But tomorrow, que nous merci. Chon, somebody somewhere, Chon amore, akontatwe, ntatswe Jehovah, hey, give a mood. Hallelujah.
Amen.
Jesus Kimurana. Hey, Jesus Kimurana.
Amen.
Hakariri. Nkapese. Kamato. Yeah. When I can see yeah. Oh, call on me.
Halala, Freistata, halala. Halala, Freistata, halala. Halala, Freistata, halala. Halala, Freistata, halala. Hosa 2030, hosa. Hosa 2030, hosa. 2030 is a must. It is not a plan. It's a must for us to stop HIV and AIDS. It's a must. We are not here planning. It's a must that by 2030 itabelisiyo. Nkapese. Halala. Hosa.
halala. Halala, civil societies, halala. Hi Titiane, Freistata, hi Titiane. Can you believe it? We are hosting World AIDS Day right in the Free State. Can you believe it? World AIDS Day right in the Free State. Peaceful, dignified, and we have an aim. Aubatuba mudimu. Give Freistata mona. Mamelang he. Mamelang. Let me just say, Minister, time is against us. Let me just say, protocol observed. Kisompile mutu emunli. Shh. Akiri rize, mamelang, akibu ina he kia itulel. Na kia itulel. Civil kia itulel and tatem kwe. Ay na kibu. Shh. Bao babu amo. Ubua juang isu na stage. Shh. Aretule. Mamelang. Do you still remember 41 years back? Do you remember the first day when all of us, we started to hear about HIV and AIDS? Lesa hopola. How no kalo hubua ka HIV and AIDS? Do you still remember? Osa hopola. Libitso la Kukudlamini. Do you still remember what happened to Kukudlamini? Do you still remember Nkosi Johnson? Do you still remember Thabo? Do you still remember how did we feel when people were talking about HIV and AIDS? Do you still remember the discrimination? Do you still remember the treatment that we were getting, the people who were affected by HIV and AIDS? Do you still remember?
This world with my soul.
Now, usahupula. Some of the family members, they did not even wanted to be associated with their families members. They are HIV positive. Some, others, where they have been killed. Others, wafigu Jesu. Satola ama ARVs. Today, everything is normal. Today, HIV and AIDS is, but you know, there is absolute nothing. We accept each other. Even we're getting married, there is absolute nothing. We live a normal life. Ujesu uzafika ekuseni sebathi baqedile ngawo. Ishaya mo shaya ke. Today, we have survived. Here we are. Hari party. We accept hore. Our brothers and sisters have HIV and AIDS, and they are using their medication, and they are living a normal life. Wafi you government way to wasipama ARVs free of charge. And we are getting our treatment, and we are living a normal life. And 2030, it will not be here. We are going to work together, and we are going to finish it. Ujesu uzafika.
There's a group of mine
Tebo. CD guy ma. Tebo ki a tseba ki mmatla somewhere ki tla le ena. Where is that CD? Palisa ikai. Ikai u Jesu fike kuseni. Ikai CD. Capese, capese. Tebo. Waza. Come. HIV, GBV. Kopana plakamo. GBV, HIV, plakamo. Civil society. Waza, Baruni. Traditional leaders. Everybody. Waza. Mamela.